He'll be 27 in May. This is all from the article on The Athletic. The Packers have looked into this situation where they have him on the roster as a backup. He's been viable and he's been decent as a backup when Jordan Love has gone down. But I don't think that Malik Willis is the type of player to kind of stretch beyond your means to bring in, assuming that he will be legitimately the guy for a long time. Like, I don't know if this is like, do you remember how like a quarterback like Kirk Cousins was in a competition in Washington, and then he eventually got the chance to break free and was like, oh, this guy's legitimately a starter.
Yeah.
I don't know if Malik Willis is that type of player where he just needs a spot where there's not a starter already there. And I don't know if that really puts Cleveland over the edge. And I think that when you look at Malik Willis and you look at his game, like, sure, he could be a starter in the league. I just don't know, obviously, with everything else that Cleveland has, the best solution for Cleveland would be is that they would have to get the best play out of Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. That would be the best path forward. Spending more on the position, I don't think is a smart move for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I think the other option for Malik Willis would be go to a place where you have a chance to actually beat someone out like the Vikings. We talked about this yesterday, that if he went to the Vikings and had a legitimate competition with J.J. McCarthy, that Malik Willis would have a chance to beat out J.J. McCarthy because they play a similar style game. J.J. McCarthy does like to run. He's dynamic. So is Malik Willis. So they have a chance to play a similar style game, and Malik Willis could beat out J.J. McCarthy in that scenario. And then J.J. becomes the backup. He's inexpensive. He was a first-round pick, but at that point, it doesn't really cost you that much. You presume Malik Willis isn't going to cost you that much under contract. It would probably only be a 2 or 3 year deal with a bunch of incentives and options that are team friendly in that deal. So I would assume that that would be a situation, because at that point too, if you're Malik Willis, think about it. Where would you rather go? If you've got offers from the Browns or the Vikings have a better chance at winning than the Browns do. That's a much better organization. If I'm Malik Willis, I look at quarterback whisperer Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Vikings, and I say, I've got a chance to be the next Sam Darnold.
No doubt.
I go there as opposed to the Browns, and I say, I don't want to go into this mess, and I don't want to be around the Shedeur Sanders drama, because you know what's going to happen. If he goes to the Browns and he is, quote, the guy that's brought in to be the quarterback of the Browns, the media is going to go up to him, and then they're going up to Shedeur to get his opinion, because the circus that is around Shedeur Sanders might develop into a good quarterback at some point. Don't know. I have no idea what Shedeur Sanders is going to turn into, but I do know there is a media circus that travels with Shedeur Sanders. He was elected to the Pro Bowl just because there were eyeballs on Shedeur Sanders. That's the only reason he was elected. And so because of that, if I'm Malik Willis, I go to a place where I can just play football and not have to worry about that. So if I've got other offers on the table, I'm taking those offers.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Ryan Clark was on Inside the NFL, and he thinks that Malik Willis should go to the Steelers.
I want the Pittsburgh Steelers to move on from Aaron Rodgers and acquire Malik Willis. He's shown us now in Green Bay under Matt LaFleur, his passing has now ascended, right? He's pushing the football down the field outside of the numbers. The athleticism since coming out of Liberty has always been there. Under Matt LaFleur and the way that he was utilized, he thrived as the starting quarterback. You don't have to go pay Malik Willis $60 million. Now, will it be a deal that's maybe over what Sam Darnold made? Maybe. But I feel like that's where you can start working with Malik Willis. And now under Mike McCarthy, you're not just piecemealing, right, or putting a Band-Aid on the quarterback position. You're getting possibly your quarterback of the next decade.
So that was Ryan Clark on Inside the NFL, former Steeler. He thinks the Steelers should go after Malik Willis. We've been talking about Cleveland because we have a reporter in Cleveland for The Athletic suggesting that the Browns should go after Willis. obviously, he's the best free agent quarterback on the market. To Ryan Clark's point, last year in 4 games played for Malik Willis, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, completion percentage of 85.7. The year before, so 2024, Malik Willis played in 7 games for the Packers. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and his completion percentage was 74.1. So in his stints with the Packers, where he's been in to replace and play for an injured Jordan Love, his completion percentage has been outstanding.
Yeah.
He has played really well within Matt LaFleur's offense. So I could see with the right coaching, it working out well. But then again, I think a lot of this conversation goes back to you have teams who have quarterback issues who need an answer, right? Like Aaron Rodgers is the answer for next season if he decides to play. If he doesn't decide to play, or if you're looking into the future, the Steelers need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there is not a lot for teams to kind of clamor over in this offseason because there are not a lot of available quarterbacks, which props up Malik Willis, I think, as being better in people's eyes than he maybe really is.
I like the idea of Malik Willis to the Steelers because of 2 reasons. One, he gives you an option where he has been successful, like we just heard, and you can go to that system with Mike McCarthy, and you can be. You've got what? You got a good defense, you've got a decent offensive line, but I think that his ability to run better than Aaron Rodgers can, obviously, because Aaron Rodgers has never been able to be that dynamic with his legs. Like he can throw on the run, but he's not really a running type quarterback, so he can be more dynamic with his legs if the pocket breaks down. But he's also got DK Metcalf. He's got good weapons. He's got a good defense, and I think Mike McCarthy can get a lot out of him. What I also like about him is that Mike McCarthy can develop quarterbacks. And I'm not talking about developing Malik Willis here. What I'm talking about is Mike McCarthy can then go this year and draft a quarterback later in the draft. And I'm not saying in the 2nd round, maybe draft someone in the 3rd round, because there's not quarterbacks that are worthy of being drafted in the 1st round or maybe even in the 2nd round for the Steelers, considering where they're picking. Draft someone like Ty Simpson out of Alabama in the 3rd round. Develop him for now. You've got 2 years, because if you take Aaron Rodgers this year, you've maybe got 1 year of Aaron Rodgers left, and then you're doing this whole dance again. You're doing this whole, what are we doing? Is Ty Simpson ready? Are we signing Aaron Rodgers in 27? What are we doing? With Malik Willis, at least maybe I've got 2 years of Malik Willis here, and I can let Ty Simpson sit for 2 years, and maybe Ty Simpson with 2 years of watching and learning under Mike McCarthy, it can be similar to what I'm not saying that Ty Simpson is going to become the next Aaron Rodgers. It's not what I'm saying. But if he sits for a couple of years and learns, we don't know what he can become.
The franchise tags can be applied today. So teams have until March 3rd to give a franchise tag or a transitional tag to a player. There's a big time edge rusher who might be tagged. We'll tell you who that could be next.
Could Kyler Murray be next year's Sam Darnold? In a new home, we're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Ricky tweets the show at Bleck Abdalla. I'm Chris Bleck with Abdalla. He tweets us, Malik Willis to the Dolphins with Halfley. Or what about the Cardinals? Could you pair him in Arizona? Put Malik Willis out there with the Cardinals when they move off of Kyler Murray, since it was reported earlier in the week that both the Dolphins and the Cardinals want to trade their quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa and Kyler Murray. Those are both options. Ricky listening to Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Here's the other thing to look at. With the franchise tags being able to be applied today by teams starting at 4 Eastern, is Trey Hendrickson going to be tagged today by the Bengals? And is that the best way for them to move forward? Obviously, he wants a new contract. If the Bengals tag Trey Hendrickson today, they would likely do it with the intent that they would be trading him. Would that be the best idea for them to kind of navigate this offseason with Trey Hendrickson, a pass rusher who clearly hasn't been happy with the Bengals. And the Bengals defensively, they need a lot of help. So getting back something in a trade could help booster the defense, which we know offensively, if Joe Burrow is standing and able, he and the wide receivers are going to be good enough to go on a run. They need to get better on defense. Is trading Trey Hendrickson after applying a tag today the best way for the Cincinnati Bengals?
No, I don't think so. They tried this last year and it failed miserably. Like, they tried this and they overvalued Trey Hendrickson, and he's coming off of another injured season. And I just don't think that this is in the best interest for the Bengals. What's best for the Bengals is just cut bait and let him become a free agent, and he's going to be the number one free agent out there, and let him just go wherever he may go. Because right now, if they do that, you're going to have another disgruntled player. And what if nobody trades for Trey Hendrickson? Then you're stuck.
Well, I mean,
you're stuck paying that much money to a player who doesn't want to be there.
But the intent would be, if you just let him go, you're not getting anything.
Okay.
Like, at least I'm guessing from what I've kind of read is that at least they would be able to get like a 4th or a 5th round pick back for Trey Hendrickson. Because, like, obviously he is worth more than that.
Yeah.
But because he needs a new contract, whoever makes a trade knows they're going to have to give an extension to Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're the Bengals, I think today you tag him with the intent that next week at the combine, you find a trade partner and you move him for a 4th round pick.
I don't think they will, just because.
But like from the Bengals standpoint,
Yes.
that would be the best idea. You got to get something back. Just letting him go,
I think that was
you're not going to get anything.
That's
back.
what they tried to do last year, and they valued him too. They overvalued him, and no one was willing to give them what they wanted.
But haven't we gotten to the end of the road with this? Like, it's very obvious.
So just
that
let him go.
He's not going to be a Cincinnati Bengal for the rest of his career.
So just let him go.
I think you got to get something for him.
I don't think so. I think that's more of an NBA. We've got to. This guy's contract is expiring. We've got to trade him and try to get something back for him.
What? You don't just let guys go at that caliber.
His contract is up. You let him go.
But if you franchise tag him, so Trey Hendrickson, and I'm seeing this from Sports Illustrated, Trey Hendrickson, if the Bengals place the franchise tag on him, he would be set to make $30.2 million this upcoming season, which, as they say, is a bargain for an acquiring team. Mm-hmm. Although, based on that and the cap hit, they would have to give him an extension at some point. Otherwise, you'd have the same disgruntled situation that you would have. I'm guessing if you're a team looking for an edge rusher, you would be more than willing to give up a 4th round pick for Trey Hendrickson, knowing you just have to dole out some cash on the flip side.
Yes, you could. The problem is, though, this is what happened to the Bengals last year. You say we can just take, now we can get something. Now we could get a 4th round pick. Now we just need to get something. But then your GM brain kicks in and you're like, well, we should get at least a 2nd for him. Well, he's had how many sacks the last few years? Well, we should probably get at least a 2nd for him, right? Like at least a 2nd. And then someone calls with a 2nd. You're like, I think he's worth at least a 1st round pick. And then you're screwed because you're stuck with an injured Trey Hendrickson who doesn't want to be there. And because no one wanted to give you a 1st round pick for him. And then you've got to, because now teams are saying, I got to give up a 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick and I have to pay him. No, thank you. He's coming off of an injury. The best way for both parties is just go your separate ways, because now teams are saying, I got to give you a draft pick and I got to pay him. He didn't play half the year. No, thank you.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Dan Graziano was on ESPN television earlier today talking about Trey Hendrickson, and he thinks the best fit for Hendrickson is with the Colts.
Trey Hendrickson to the Colts, I believe it makes a lot of sense. They've been looking for edge rush help for a number of years. The defensive coordinator for the Colts is Lou Anarumo, who coached Trey Hendrickson some of his best years in Cincinnati. It makes a lot of sense. It can be a short-term deal for a veteran player who might have the kind of impact the Colts are looking for. Colts have not won their division. They've gone the longest of any team in their division without winning it. It has been quite a drought for Indianapolis. We know they had a great start to last year and then fell apart. They want to make sure and finish it off. Trey Hendrickson, if he gets back healthy and to the kind of player he was in Cincinnati, can certainly be a guy that helps them do that.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense in Indy. It really would.
Yeah.
And they're a team that clearly is going for it, right? Last season, in season, at the deadline, making the trade for Sauce Gardner. Didn't work out last season specifically because Gardner got hurt. But to bolster that defense last year in a situation where they got off to such a hot start, and the Colts were like the team when the weather was nice, right? Like in September and October, everyone was talking about the Colts. And the fact that if they look to add someone like Hendrickson this offseason, that would really help. When we look at the Colts specifically, the question whether or not they will tag Daniel Jones is something to keep our eyes on at 4 Eastern today as well, because of the names who I think are the big-time names who could be tagged today. Daniel Jones is one. We can talk about George Pickens with the Cowboys, whether or not he will be tagged as well. Hendrickson with the Bengals. Those are some of the biggest names that we got to keep our eyes on today at 4 Eastern.
Yeah, I think it's likely that they go with Daniel Jones because you can't let him go away because you don't have another quarterback. When they decided to trade for Sauce Gardner, they gave up a lot of draft picks. They gave up 2 first-round picks. So you can't do anything in the next 2 first rounds. You're tied to Daniel Jones. You have to give him a contract. You can't draft a quarterback this year. You can't draft a quarterback next year in the first round. You're stuck. So you've got to negotiate. You at least have to tag him to negotiate with him. It's going to be around $47 million. If you think that Daniel Jones is worth $47 million, then by all means tag him and give him $47 million this year. And if you want to tag him again next year, then that's fine. You can do that too. I would tag him to negotiate with him and do it that way. To go back to Trey Hendrickson for a second, the reason that if you're the Colts, you hope to God that the Bengals don't tag him because you only have a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, a 4th, and a 5th, and a 7th. You don't have other picks. So if the Bengals are like, we want a 3rd-round pick for him, you're like, I'm not giving you a 3rd-round pick because then I only have 4 other picks in this draft because I traded all these picks for Sauce Gardner. So I'm not giving up more things to get a player that I then need to sign also to give a contract to. So it eliminates the teams that you can then go for because teams have been making these deals for these other players. So you hope if you're the Colts, you can tag Daniel Jones, negotiate with him at some point in the offseason, sign him to a 3-year extension, whatever it is, a new contract, and then hopefully you can negotiate with Trey Hendrickson if he doesn't get tagged and you sign him in the offseason as well. You've you've adjusted your defensive line and you've found your quarterback for the next 3-4 years, as long as you've got Sauce Gardner at least, because for the next 2 years, you don't have 1st-round picks because you've invested in Daniel Jones and invested in Sauce Gardner because you traded for him and made a huge investment in Daniel Jones by trading for Sauce Gardner and giving up those 1st-round picks.
Yeah, the Colts situation is this. They do have 7 picks in this year's draft, except for 4 of those picks are in the 5th round or later.
Yeah.
So they've got a 5th, they've got a 6th, and they have 2 7ths. One of the 7ths is being a comp pick that they get towards the end of the draft. So, the way you look at team building in the NFL is, sure, you're looking for players who can be on your roster and to help out from the 5th round plus, but essentially the starters for your team are being built in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th round. And that's where the Colts entered this offseason. Last year being 8-9, they had a great start to this season. They lose 7 games to finish out the year. Quarterback issues. You don't have a 1st-round pick. You have a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 4th, and that's it. And then you have all those picks at the end of the draft, which, the way I view it is like, sure, there are examples of players who become great from the later rounds.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're looking at building your team with 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round picks.
It's a lottery ticket. You hope to find someone. If you find,
well, they're depth pieces, right?
Yeah. Look, if you find a great running back, if you find a good running back in the 6th round, great. If you find a good special teamer in the 7th round or 6th round, awesome. If you find a depth at your offensive line, that's great. But for the most part, these guys are going to be on your practice squad. These guys are going to be, coming into training camp, and some of them aren't even going to make the roster. Some of them are going to be cut in their 2nd or 3rd year. So a lot of these guys just, again, these 6th and 7th round picks, that's why I say, they don't have a lot of early round picks because they've invested in Sauce Gardner and now in Daniel Jones. You have to get something done with Daniel Jones because if you just let him walk, what did you trade for Sauce Gardner for?
Yeah, you're right. And I think that's one thing with the Colts. Chris Ballard has gotten kind of a pass. Like people think that he's a great GM. And I think it's been a little hit or miss with Chris Ballard and the Colts. You know, like specifically what we're talking about later rounds in the draft. Like last year, their two last picks didn't play at all, right? So they had two guys out of the draft class that didn't play at all. If you go back to the 2024 class, they have 6 players that were drafted that never played in a game, never did anything, right? So when you're building the team through the draft and you are then making the moves to make up for bad past drafts, that's where you find yourself trading for Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
That's also where you find yourself in a position. If Trey Hendrickson gets tagged today, is Indy the team that makes a move to bring Hendrickson in? What are you giving up? A 4th round pick. Okay, well, the Colts do have a 4th round pick. They could get that done, but then that would leave them with only 2 picks before the 5th round
Exactly.
in this year's draft.
Exactly.
So I think that's where it is all very fascinating to kind of keep your eye on as the movement is taking place around the NFL. Today is tag day. So the franchise tag can be applied. 4 Eastern is when teams can announce and start making the moves on that. As we head towards free agency in the NFL, who are the teams with the most cap space? We'll talk about that next. As we head into the NFL offseason, Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Here are the teams who have the most cap space going into free agency this season in the NFL. The Titans, almost $105 million of cap space. The Raiders, over 91 mil. The Chargers, nearly 83 mil. The Jets, about 80. And the Commanders, about 75. So those are the teams, a lot of cash in their pocket, ready to spend.
Yeah.
I'll say this. You know, we saw last year directly the way a team participated in the offseason directly impacted the results that we got in season. I feel like the NBA is specifically a league where you look at and you say, you spend a lot of free agency, you expect to win, right? Like, because in the NBA, a few guys, you add them to your team, especially the big ticket guys, it could flip a roster immediately, and then all of a sudden you're off and running and you're winning. If you look at what we have in the NFL, it's usually the opposite. It's usually teams that spend big in free agency are trying to patchwork holes where they've had mistakes in the draft, and it doesn't equate to wins, except last year, the Patriots were out there spending big in free agency, and the Patriots made it all the way to the Super Bowl. So if you look at the teams that have cash in their pocket, Titans, Raiders, Chargers, Jets, Commanders, you can, if you spend wisely, improve your team and then maybe do something this upcoming season.
And this is why going into the offseason, I thought that the Titans job was one of the most attractive jobs. Now, this was before the Ravens job was available and the Steelers job was and the Bills job was available. Going into the offseason when it was just the Giants and the Titans and the Raiders and like the regular jobs that we all, like the Cardinals job was available. We all assumed those jobs were going to be open, and we didn't know that, you know, Sean McDermott was going to be fired and John Harbaugh was going to leave and Mike Tomlin was going to leave. I said that the Titans job was the most attractive job out there because you have a quarterback that looked good in Cam Ward, and you come in with over $100 million that you can go out there and spend in free agency. If you want to go out there and not necessarily overspend, but if you want to add Trey Hendrickson, go add Trey Hendrickson. If you want to go add the best offensive lineman, and go out and add the best offensive lineman. If you want to go get weapons, go. If you even want to add George Pickens or whoever, tag, like add who you want to. And so that's why I think with new head coach Robert Saleh, and you've got Brian Daboll as your offensive coordinator, if you can go and add the right type of free agents and you can rebuild this defense and get Cam Ward some help on offense and build this offensive line, you can flip this roster around pretty quickly and not necessarily go to the Super Bowl like the Patriots. But I think that this team can definitely compete to win this division in a year, or at least fight for second place in this division. I don't see why there's not a reason why, with this coaching staff that's very experienced. Both of these guys have been head coaches, and you've got a quarterback who's going to work with at the time when Brian Daboll was an offensive coordinator, he was a great offensive coordinator, not a good head coach, great offensive coordinator. Why this team can't compete for a division given the amount of money, as long as they spend it wisely. The Raiders, completely different story. You're going to be drafting a rookie quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. You've got a first-time head coach in Clint Kubiak coming over as the offensive coordinator from the Seahawks, excuse me. And you've got to, thank you. You've got to completely, if you do trade away Max Crosby, you're going to be getting extra first-round picks, presumably, maybe a couple extra first-round picks. So now you've got to completely rebuild that roster. It's going to be a different turnaround for the Raiders. I think
Raj is producing the show in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado. Raj, Abdalla just almost died there. I almost died at the start of the show.
Yeah, we're good.
You almost lost both of us here today to get things going here on Bleck Abdalla.
It would have been the Roger Laura show for yeah.
Started with Grand Theft Auto Windy City on Bleck's way in, and hasn't fallen off one bit.
Yeah, that's the off-air situation was that taking the train to the city today. We both live and broadcast from Chicago, so I was on the CTA, and halfway on my way into downtown from the north side, the announcement on the train was there's a medical emergency in the loop.
It's never good.
And trains are not moving because someone was on the tracks.
Uh-oh.
So if you put 2 and 2 together there, it's not likely to be a good outcome or situation.
No,
and
sir.
the trains were just halted. So I had to then jump into an Uber, which is fine. I had more than enough time, except my Uber driver, like 30 seconds after I got into the car, almost clipped a dude who was trying to cross the street, and that guy almost got eliminated. So like it was quite a mess today here in Chicago getting to work, but hey, we're here.
That was just getting to work. Vinny
weather-
almost died the first segment, and now Abdalla just
then
almost
I
died.
almost
Like
choked to death.
the lesson I've learned here in Colorado is don't let it be warm in February in Chicago, because just weird things apparently happen.
No.
Yeah. Today is day 3 of the weather touching maybe the 60s.
Yeah.
Which is totally abnormal. If you're in a different part of the country where you don't have Arctic blast winters, God bless you. And I hope you enjoy living where you live. Here in Chicago, the winters are terrible. But we've got 3 nice days here, and people have been out in T-shirts and shorts and living life.
Yeah.
And it feels great. And I love it.
And I get emotional when I talk about the Titans.
Yes, you do. So the one thing I do want to point out with teams with a lot of cap space here heading into free agency. So we listed off the top 5 teams: Titans, Raiders, Chargers, Jets, Commanders. Boy, I'm keeping my eyes on the Chargers there, because the Chargers, their fatal flaw last season was a bad offensive line, right? So if you look at that offensive line, you can take that cap space and revamp the offensive line. Why can't you do that moving forward, where the Chargers could be a really dangerous team? The other thing I would look at is we listed off the top 5 teams. You see who number 6 is? It's the Seattle Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
They just won the Super Bowl in dominant fashion.
Yeah.
So they have the cash to then either give out some extensions to players who are worthy of it, like Jackson Smith and Jigba here, as we enter in the offseason, but also they can make some moves to kind of keep this going.
Yeah, and I think they obviously should. You try to keep as many of those guys as you can, but you also have to make some decisions. You know, you remember that when the Patriots started their dynasty and tried to keep their dynasty going, that Belichick was famous for letting players go that were fan favorites, that many presumed early, that he was letting them go early, but they were able to keep the winning going because those guys were let go, quote, early for some, but it was just as the right time, because that's when they started to fall off. Now, this is obviously the first year that the Seahawks have won, and it's very early in this run for them. Like, they have to try to get back to a Super Bowl. They have to try to get back to an NFC championship game. So it's going to be tough sledding, especially in that division. Like, they have to try to compete in that division with the Rams and the 49ers next year. Yeah. But what better way to do it with the 6th most cap space in the NFL? So I wouldn't spend as much money as Jackson Smith and as Kenneth Walker might want. If he does want that much money, I would try to draft another running back. If he wants Saquon Barkley type of money, I would say, hey man, we've got your running back. You're great. We love you. But if you want to keep this going, we might need you to take some form of team-friendly discount in order to stay, because we've got a good offensive line and we can kind of feel like we can put anybody back there. You don't really block well. You don't really catch well. You're a great running back, but those other 2 things that we kind of need you to do, you don't really do well. And it was highlighted on the broadcast that Kenneth Walker doesn't really do those things well. We can draft a running back.
Kenneth Walker in the flat. All he needs to do is turn his hips and catch the football off his shoulder pad.
Nope, can't do that. Cannot do that. So if you can stay that, what I do like that you mentioned is the Chargers, because I always thought it was presumed that Jim Harbaugh would come in from Michigan in his second stint in the NFL and like himself some big beefy boys up front. And the fact that, I know it's partly because of injuries, but the fact that they've had so many struggles at offensive line is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, it is. And we will continue talking football with you. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports, 310-840-4910 to join the conversation. We are on top of all sports here on the Bleck Abdalla Show, including the Winter Olympics taking place in Milan Cortina, as we have the 35th Winter Olympiad taking place. And it's our daily Bleck and Abdalla Winter Olympic update. And we have news, Abdalla.
News?
On a situation that's been taking place over the last couple days at the Winter Olympics. The condom shortage that has been a major issue in the Olympic Village. They ran out of condoms for the Olympic athletes, and now we have an official statement from the IOC.
Oh, no.
We have an official statement from a spokesperson
Okay.
who says that the local organizing committee said the shortage was not a result of planning failures,
No.
but demand far exceeding the projections.
We can confirm that condom supplies in the Olympic Village were temporarily depleted due to higher than anticipated demand. Additional supplies are being delivered and will be distributed across all villages between today and Monday. So between now and the week, there will be continuously replenished until the end of the games to ensure continued availability.
So there you have it.
I don't know, maybe like stop for a day, like just, can y'all keep it in for like a minute, like keep it zipped up for like a day so we can replenish the supplies?
According to Italian outlet La Stampa, fewer than 10,000 condoms were initially distributed, which is way more than the amount that were handed out in Brazil.
Okay.
So either people are being less safe,
Right. Okay.
or there was less going on in the Olympic Village. But yes, so they are supplying more. But I love that the official spokesperson was like, "It's not our fault.
So
we planned properly. Y'all just doing it too much."
There's also roughly 2,871 athletes. I like how they say roughly, but they give an exact number of athletes.
Yes, roughly.
That's 3.5 condoms per athlete.
It's a lot. I swear, someone was just going up to the bowl and just putting handfuls in their pockets.
Well, some people need it more than. Have you seen like the couple skeleton?
Yes, I have.
How do you?
Yeah.
My question is this:
How do you lay like that?
How do you learn
and go down the
How
ice?
do you learn that you're good at that?
Sledding.
But
at a young age.
But how do you just
when you got ice on top of the snow?
But how do you figure out that I can do this at a competitive level?
I think it's one of those sports, and I've seen some folks suggest this, that like if you, me, Laura, and Raj all started training today to be a curler, that we could all get to the Olympic Games curling, because
I'm not talking about curling.
No,
I'm
I know.
talking about couple skeleton.
I know, hurling yourself down an ice hill. I understand.
Yeah.
I don't know how one gets into that.
Like they literally just lay on top of each other.
Raj, what'd you say there? What'd you got?
Curling is my favorite Olympic sport, bar none. I think it requires athleticism. I think it requires strategy, skill. There will be no slander of curling here, and implying that I could do it is slander. There's no way
you can take it that way. That you be offended. You be the one person that's offended. By that. Curlers are not real athletes. Let's be real.
No.
If we dedicated our
they are
life
elite
to
Olympic athletes.
If you dedicated yourself to that, you could be that. It's Bleck Abdalla right here on Westwood One Sports.
It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. I'm
Okay, can we test it now? Check. Check. I don't hear it. I think it fit. Did you make a change, Laura? Adam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I heard the echo. So that's what I was trying to test it just now, but hopefully it's gone. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Good
it
stuff.
just sounded like we were.
No,
I
heard it
we were
later.
probably coming through your headphones or something.
Because I heard maybe me.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
They were supposed to meet today, later today, and have one of their first kind of in spring training meetings, kind of talk about what was going to happen in these meetings, like the meetings before the meetings, the pre-meetings, to talk about this collective bargaining agreement, because they still have until the end of the season before the collective bargaining agreement expires. And once it expires, I believe it's at the very end of the year, December 31st is when the collective bargaining agreement expires. That's when there will be a lockout. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And there's a lot of things that go into this. And kind of the nail in the coffin of that there will be a lockout was Kyle Tucker signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the Dodgers once again signing the highest profile free agent for the most amount of money possible. And when he did that, that's kind of when the rest of the owners kind of said, that's it, we're fed up. Some of them are going to want a salary cap. The players are obviously not going to want that. There's going to want to be some form of competitive balance wanted. And the point is, in a time when the sport of baseball can arguably be said that it's at its best, you've got some of the most marketable players in baseball in Shohei Ohtani. A lot of them are on the Dodgers and on the Mets and on the Yankees and on the Cubs and on the highest profile teams in the biggest cities in the country. And that's fine. because they pay the most money for the best players. Missing an entire year of baseball would kill the sport. It would absolutely devastate the sport. And so there people will take sides. People will take the owner's side of saying, well, hey, you're making a bunch of money. How much more money could the players need to play a kids game every single day? And people will take the player's side of saying, hey, these billion, how much more billions could you want if the billionaires need to make more billions? And so this is going to be an extremely long, drawn out process. But this was a shocking development today that Tony Clark resigned in the midst of an investigation into the MLB Players Association for a financial scandal.
Yeah, to the use of funds for essentially they lavish travel and items for those in the Players Association. Mm-hmm. To the larger conversation with baseball's issue, the owners are going to push for a salary cap. That will let the owners, the cheapskates, off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now in baseball, there are haves and have-nots. The Dodgers are the haves. The Pirates are the nots. And the Pirates will never spend like the Dodgers or teams that are in that category of the haves. There are teams that are spending a lot of money to put together a good product. The Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Blue Jays in recent years have spent a lot of money to try and put together a winning team. We've seen San Diego, Boston, the Chicago Cubs, the Braves. Those are all teams that have spent and have been spending money. And if you look at the top payrolls in baseball heading into this year, those are the top 9. I listed off the top 9. The 10th team would be Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom, you have teams for this upcoming season: Miami, Cleveland, Washington, Tampa, Chicago White Sox, Colorado, St. Louis, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. Those are the teams at the bottom. They don't spend. And what it is the owners will push for a salary cap because it will artificially suppress those spending wildly at the top while keeping a middle, and the players will push against it because it should be a free market. If you're worth something and someone's willing to pay you for that, you should be able to make that money. And what happens with the salary cap, it will limit the amount of money going into the pool for the players. So the players will never agree to a salary cap. You're right. The owners will push for it.
Mm-hmm.
They can afford to push this way and to claim that they're not making money even though they are.
Yeah.
And it's all a ruse. And you're right. It will be a lengthy lockout, and it won't kill off baseball altogether. We've been through this dance before. But what will happen is, for a generation of fans, they probably will not be as invested in baseball as they should be, because we're coming off of a great summer of baseball that we had last year, and a great playoff, and a championship that was won in dramatic fashion. The World Series was great.
Mm-hmm.
7 games. Everyone was gripping. People were watching and enjoying every moment of every pitch that took place in the World Series, coming off of a season where you had a lot of compelling storylines to go into it. The big bad Dodgers throughout the regular season were dealing with injuries. So it's not like we were sitting there on May 1st or June 1st or July 1st saying it's automatically the Dodgers, they won the championship and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of different hills and valleys that went through the season to get to the point of the Dodgers eventually winning. So you can point to the fact that they spent more than anyone, and it allowed their depth to keep them afloat, and allowed them to compete, and allowed them to kind of patch it together until guys were healthy. But like Mookie Betts last year wasn't the Mookie Betts that we've seen of the past.
Yeah.
And their starting rotation was decimated at points throughout the regular season. And they still ended up winning, and I thought that was compelling to kind of pay attention to. And there were a lot of teams that had a chance. And it felt like summer last year, baseball had a moment. They finally figured out all the stupid rules to make the game move a little quicker, right? Like having the pitch clock worked.
Mm-hmm.
What a concept. You can go to a baseball game, and within 3 hours, the game starts and finishes, and you're on your way home. And in most situations, it was around 2 hours. Like 2 hours on a summer night for a baseball game. Sitting in the stands here in Chicago, watching on either side of town, sometimes on a hot summer night, when the weather's perfect, it felt like the game was a little short. Like no, you're.
Can I get a little more baseball?
The sun's out until 9 o'clock in the middle of the summer, wherever you're at, right? The sun's up and you're enjoying summer, and the baseball game's like heading into the 8th inning, and you're like, wow, this game moved by quickly.
Yeah.
That was a added bonus, and the TV product benefited from that. So to have this looming in baseball where there is an impending lockout to kill all of this momentum of great players playing well, Judge having an all-time season, Shohei Ohtani being probably the best player in all of professional sports right now. He's just absolutely magical at the plate and also on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's something that none of us have ever seen. Baseball is so exciting right now. To have a lockout will definitely kill off some of that enthusiasm, especially if it's a lengthy lockout that lasts an entire baseball season.
Well, I think even the new change that they're adding with the challenge system for balls and strikes, I think that's going to help because it brings some accountability into the game that people have wanted. And, one of the worst things, technological advances for baseball has been that little box on TV and on your phone, because it's not real. Like, it's a pretend zone that is assumed by the TV station showing the game and whatever app you're using to check on your phone. And because it's subjective based on the ump that is calling the game. But now, if a player wants to, or if a manager wants to, whatever, to check it, or a catcher, they can. And some veteran players have said, I'm not going to ever show up an ump by doing that. And some of the younger guys have said they're going to do it and all that kind of stuff. But the point is that baseball is doing whatever they can to adjust. And it seems like a good adjustment compared to what we talked about yesterday with the way the NBA is kind of adjusting to the negative of their fans.
Yeah.
The way the NBA is adding in-season tournaments and adding all this, extra play-in games and adding all this other stuff and ruining their All-Star weekend and all this kind of stuff. We're talking about how that is detrimental to the league, whereas whatever baseball is doing, like even the World Baseball Classic, that's fun.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot.
It really is.
Watching watching players play for their countries in the middle of the season is actually fun. It's good. Or before the season, it's actually fun. It's actually good to see. And I think that players like doing that. And so, like you've seen, some teams, like players are going to start leaving for the World Baseball Classic soon, ahead of the season. And so that adds to the start of the season and the start of the game and everything like that. And I think that, like, they started growing the game a little bit. You had some games last year overseas to start the season. You have that every single year, but it doesn't really impact the way the NFL is starting to add games in Australia and like trying to figure out, well, do we need to start the season on a Wednesday now or a Tuesday or a Thursday? Baseball is slowly starting to trend in the right direction, and you're going to ruin all of that goodwill.
Yeah.
And like, you've got great, like Ohtani, as you might hate the Dodgers. And
it's an incredible story. What Shohei Ohtani has done in the last 2 seasons in Major League Baseball, specifically, I mean, it is stuff that we have never seen as baseball fans ever.
And you're living in a time where, your great grandparents can tell you about Babe Ruth, and your grandparents can tell you about the greatest players ever and whatever. You might be watching right now the best baseball player of all time when it's all said and done. Ohtani's doing stuff that has never been done and might never be done ever again. In Shohei Ohtani, what he's doing with pitching and hitting at the same time, and being an MVP while he's doing it, and winning World Series championships while he's doing it. And to lose all of that goodwill, because baseball fans, do not be mad at the Dodgers. Do not take your aggression out at the Dodgers. Take your aggression out at your owners. And I'm not saying that if you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates, or if you're a fan of the Cleveland Guardians, or if you're a fan of the Chicago White Sox, or one of those teams mentioned at the bottom, that you need to be spending like the Dodgers or the Mets. That's not what I'm saying. You guys can't afford that. That nobody can afford to do what the Mets and Dodgers do besides the Mets and the Dodgers. But you can compete.
Yeah.
Because your owners are still millionaires and billionaires, and they can still compete. It doesn't mean that they're going to spend the crazy amounts of money that the Dodgers and the Mets do, but you can put a better team than you're putting out right now.
And the reason we're talking about baseball is Tony Clark, the director of the PA, the Major League Baseball Players Association, is resigning. So that's how that got into the news today. I know teams are in training camp now and spring training and getting ready for the baseball season. And let's also get on the record right now. If and when a lockout takes place, I will say it is 100% on the owners. It's their fault that this will take place.
Another shirt for Bleck and Abdalla here.
It will 100%
team
be
player.
on the owners.
Yeah.
Well, because that, like what Adam was kind of listing off, is that if you have the means to own one of these teams, you also have the means to participate. And there are teams at the bottom rung of baseball not spending at all who are selecting to not participate. There are many teams. Now, you could argue that some just are financially not in a situation to even compete at all. And at that point, sell the team.
Yeah.
Give it up to someone who can compete.
Take your profit and go.
And then we won't have this issue, Pittsburgh. We won't have this issue, Washington Nationals. Won't have the same issue with Miami popping up for a championship once every decade and then going back into a dark hole where they don't participate. The Chicago White Sox, get out. No one needs you a part of the game anymore, Jerry Reinsdorf. It's time to let Justin Ishbia take over the ball club.
Yeah.
For people who are unaware, on a national landscape, here in Chicago, Bleck and Abdalla, we're broadcasting live from Chicago. There is a deal in place for Justin Ishbia, the brother of Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, to take over the ownership of the Chicago White Sox by 2033.
So long from now.
It is, but there are conditions attached to it. If for some reason Jerry Reinsdorf decides before 2033 he wants to end his ownership run of the White Sox, he can give it up. So it will go to Justin Ishbia, if not by 2033. So the White Sox will have a new owner by 2033. There's also something else on the table that if it were to happen, sadly, the franchise would then go over to Justin Ishbia as well. I'm just saying he's an older gentleman, this Jerry Reinsdorf. So if for some reason he wasn't around, then it would go to Justin. What? How else do you describe
like he's going to get kidnapped.
No.
If he wasn't around.
No, I'm just saying, like, if unfortunately he had health issues.
If Jerry Reinsdorf passes away, he automatically goes to Ishbia.
I didn't want to say it like
you were
that.
Like dancing around the fact that in the contract, if Jerry Reinsdorf dies, just say it. Like you're acting weird about it.
No.
Why are you acting weird in the contract? He's like 90 years old. If he dies, the team goes to Justin Ishbia. Why are you being weird about it?
Because I'm a White Sox fan, so it's weird because
no one's saying that you're rooting for it. It's just in the contract. If he dies or decides he doesn't want to run the team anymore, you're being weird about it, dude. What is wrong with you?
I wasn't trying to be weird about it.
You are though.
Well, I apologize. I was just trying to lay it out those are the fact of the matter, that the team will go to Justin Ishbia. And at that point, Justin Ishbia is one of those big time billionaires. Like, I'm pretty sure on the Chicago North Shore, he's building like a $30 million house.
Yeah.
Like he is someone, when you talk about teams like the Mets with Steve Cohen, who are just spending to try and win, or the Dodgers situation, or others who are at the top of baseball spending money, that's the level of billionaire Justin Ishbia is.
Yeah.
So at some point in the future, the White Sox will go over to Justin Ishbia, and this is relevant for baseball fans because he was set to buy the Minnesota Twins.
Mm-hmm.
And at the last second, Reinsdorf cut a deal with him that he would take over the White Sox whenever Jerry is no longer around.
Mysteriously.
No, not mysterious. I didn't mean it for that, like that. I'm just trying to be nice about the way to say it. But yeah, if he passes before 2033, the team goes to Justin Ishbia. It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Can you tell what I'm looking forward to that date in 2033. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we're both
I'm
White
looking
Sox
forward
fans. We all are.
I'm looking forward
compete.
for that date. But let's get it on the record. It will be the owner's fault if and when we have an extended lockout.
Yeah, Raj, is Chris being weird about this? Tell me.
This
Chris
whole
being weird about
day is
this?
weird. We've almost lost Bleck today. We've almost lost Abdalla. We almost lost whoever Bleck's Uber driver was going to run over earlier. And now we're going to lose an owner of a team. What is going on in Chicago?
Not that we're rooting for it. We're just paying attention to the fine details on how the ownership of the ball club could be passed
Will
on.
transfer. And
Yes.
in 2027, there might not be baseball. I'm just going to say it right now. There's not going to be baseball in 2027. I've looked in the crystal ball. There won't be baseball in 2027.
It's Bleck Abdalla, and it's time for the Defensive Player of the Week, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Abdalla, let's select Victor Wembanyama for his efforts in the All-Star game, playing a little defense.
Just
Our
trying.
Defensive Player of the Week.
Just trying. Congrats for trying. That's what you get. You get the Defensive Player of the Week from Bleck Abdalla for trying.
That's right. Victor Wembanyama, he's our Defensive Player of the Week, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. All right, with NFL free agency, which free agent is soon to be overpaid? We'll talk about that next.
Westwood One, baby.
Will Tua Tagovailoa jumpstart his career in a new city like Baker Mayfield did? We're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds. Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, hanging out with you until 3 Eastern. Bleck Abdalla live from Chicago, broadcasting each and every day. Raj Sharon is in Denver, Colorado, producing the show, and now he joins us for some power rankings on a Tuesday. What's up, Raj?
Bleck, what's up, Abdalla? You ready for a little power rankings? We do it differently here. We don't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do categories, like those fun graphics that you see on the interwebs. And so that's what we do. And it's a free agency edition today. I give the power ranking category, and the fellas list who they would put in it. Let's get started with not going anywhere. Abdalla, who are you putting in your power rankings free agency edition under not going anywhere?
All right, not going anywhere. I'm going to start quarterbacks. I'm going to say Daniel Jones, not going anywhere. Colts. Aaron Rodgers, not going anywhere. He's going to be a Steeler. And I'm going to select another one off the board that's not a quarterback.
Stretch.
Actually, I'm not. I'm going to say that's it. I was going to say Khalil Mack, but I don't think that they're going to spend the money on him. I think he's going to leave and not be a Charger anymore.
That was quite the dramatic
I'm going to use Khalil Mack somewhere else.
Okay,
I'm going to use Khalil Mack somewhere else.
Okay, Raj, not going anywhere. I'm going to put Romeo Doubs there because I think he stays with Green Bay. I am going to stay with the theme. Abdalla mentioned some quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers. I think he stays in Pittsburgh. I think he'll eventually play. I think Rodgers with the Steelers, he stays there. And then another name, someone that had a great season last year, maybe surprising at this point of his career. I think Kevin Byard stays with the Chicago Bears. So that's my not going anywhere list.
All right, moving along, fellas, in the free agency edition of Power Rankings, soon to be overpaid. That, again, is the Power Ranking category, soon to be overpaid. Bleck?
I'm going to list off, first off, it's Malik Willis. Malik Willis getting a job as a free agent as a quarterback, by nature being the only quarterback available on the free agent market, he will be overpaid. He may be good, he will be overpaid. And then can I say Breece Hall? Can I add him to the list? Running back from the Jets, going somewhere else?
Yeah, sure.
I think I always
Your
think
list, man.
I'm always skeptical about overpaying running backs on the market.
Well, I mean, Abdalla's ready to print the T-shirt. What's your T-shirt say, Abdalla?
They're disposable.
Don't pay running backs.
Running backs are
disposable.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Just
why I'm
draft
gonna
a new one.
Are you done? Are you done with your rankings?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Kenneth Walker is going to be my top of the list. And then can I use a previously used guy, or once I use them, they're off the list?
Yeah,
you know what? Go ahead. Go for it. Why not? You can
Daniel
double.
Jones. Daniel Jones will be over 47. If they stick with the franchise tag, $47 million is too much for Daniel Jones.
It's a lot.
So even if they get a deal worked out, like that's a lot of money. I think like $35 million a year, like that's a lot of money for Daniel Jones. I know he proved it and he played really well, but giving up 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner is that alone proves how much you're going to invest in Daniel Jones. I think that's a lot. So him and Kenneth Walker, those are my 2. And then any other running back on this list, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne. I think the only ones that aren't going to be overpaid, I think we've seen enough Najee Harris where like he's just going to be a disposable body at this point where like you're only going to give him a few $1 million to just come in and be like a secondary option at this point. Raj?
All right. Next up.
I got to give you good value, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're on good
value.
Good value.
Good value.
Yeah, I got you. I got picks for you. Did you just give good value?
No, I gave soon to be overpaid.
Oh, okay.
He gave
Sorry, Raj. That was on me. I thought we were on the third one. Go for it. Good value. All right, here we go.
Go ahead. Good value.
Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne. I think J.K. Dobbins. And I would say Trey Hendrickson are in my power rankings because for my opinion on soon to be overpaid, I think you can find running backs at good value and get something out of them. So I've got 2 backs, and I think Trey Hendrickson, wherever he lands, even if you give him a new contract, he's one of the best edge rushers in football. He is someone that will be moved. I think that will be a good value for whatever team that lands in.
I'm going to go with Mike Evans is on that list. Whether he stays in Tampa, I've seen him linked to like Buffalo.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think Mike Evans has still got at least one good year left in him. I'm going to put him at the top of that list. I think that I disagree with you about Malik Willis. I think depending on where he goes, he can be good value. I think the teams recognize, despite him being the only quarterback option, recognize that he is a backup in this league for a reason, and that even though he's the only quarterback, you're still going to get decent value if you put him behind a good offensive line and prop him up with a good defense. I think that you're getting good value with Malik Willis. You're not winning a Super Bowl with Malik Willis, but he's going to get you to the playoffs if you put him with the right team. So I'm going to put Malik Willis in that category for good value.
All right, Abdalla, we'll stay with you on the free agency edition power rankings. I almost felt bad writing this because it's mean-spirited, but you can be a little mean-spirited when you want to. Washed. Who are you putting in the washed category?
Russell Wilson.
I knew that was coming.
And Russell Wilson.
knew it was coming.
Travis Kelce, washed.
Yeah.
You want me to keep going? Joey Bosa, washed. Von Miller, washed. I can keep going. Let's see. Who else is washed on this list? I like Cam Jordan's a Hall of Fame player. Washed.
Cam Jordan's a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's
what
a
are
good
you
player.
doing?
Deebo Samuel?
Hall
You gonna put
very
Deebo
good.
Samuel on there?
I think Keenan Allen at this point is also washed. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a Hall of very good player.
Yeah.
Hall of great
He's
player.
probably he could be a Hall of Famer. Keenan Allen.
Hall of very good player. Hall of great player. But also, I think washed at this point. Those are my washed guys. Marcus Mariota washed.
Okay. All right. The entire list essentially for Abdalla. I was gonna say Russell Wilson. I was gonna say Keenan Allen as well. Because Allen last year, you could tell that he had a little something, but then he didn't. It's just not what it used to be. He used to catch everything, and every route within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, he would beat defenders to and catch every ball, and it's not that anymore. And I also think, Kenneth Walker, after MVP of the Super Bowl, looking for a payday.
What?
That's a bit washed.
What?
I could see it.
Whoa!
Ready?
I could see it. I could see it.
Whoa.
I could see it.
Excuse me. I gotta. It just got
Wow.
hot in the studio.
So
'cause
between the two of you,
I'm just telling you,
between
man,
the two of
takes
you,
in this room.
He's going to get overpaid,
The
and people are
takes
going to be
in
like,
this
man, he's
room.
washed.
Wow.
oh my gosh, I feel bad
The
putting the
takes
category
in
on.
this
It's like your
room.
guys' favorite category. Between the two of you, you're
Oh my
slinging all kind of
God.
players, and nobody
The
said
takes in
Calais
this room are
Campbell.
so hot.
Nobody said
Ugh.
Debo Samuel. Nobody said Bobby Wagner. But yet
Von
somehow
Miller?
the Super
I
Bowl
said
MVP
Von
made
Miller.
it.
All right.
I said
No,
Von Miller.
Bobby Wagner though. Bobby Wagner. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
no,
last
not
one.
Bobby
Last one. Last
Wagner.
one. Last
Okay.
one. Franchise changing, Black. Who you
Hmm.
putting? Power rankings, free agency edition, franchise changing.
Okay. It's Trey Hendrickson to me. He's the only guy that's out there right now that would be a guy that would change a franchise's direction. The second guy I would put in that conversation, he needs to live up to his potential and what he's supposed to be, and that's Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is supposed to be the best tight end in football. He's had flashes, but his production hasn't met what he was kind of billed as entering the NFL. So I'm going to say it's Trey Hendrickson as my power ranking. And number 2, it would be Kyle Pitts.
All right. I'm going to go Joe Flacco is number 1 for me. Obviously. Elite Hall of Famer, Joe Flacco. Almost beat the Bears last year. Joe Flacco. It's basically on the list of free agents available. It's Trey Hendrickson. And I think, well, if you're going by the position, you have to put the quarterbacks on there. Like Daniel Jones is franchise changing because if he doesn't go to the Colts, what are the Colts going to do? Like Malik Willis is somewhat of a downgrade from Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones can replicate how he looked before he got hurt, then going to Malik Willis is a downgrade for the Colts. Like if he just says, guess what, guys, I'm hitting the free market because I'm not playing on the franchise tag. I'm holding out. Release me. And they end up releasing him. He, hits the open market, ends up playing for the Cardinals, ends up playing for the Steelers, sign him, whatever it is, then that's franchise changing. If Daniel Jones if he's as good as he was the first however many weeks he was healthy, Daniel Jones can be a franchise changing player if he truly is a different player than before he got to the Vikings from when he left the Vikings. So I'm going to go those two guys. And Joe Flacco.
No votes for George Pickens, a guy
Nope.
we've been talking a lot about.
No,
George
I don't
Pickens
think
can't
so.
change a franchise.
No, I don't think so.
And Deshaun Wright.
I don't think so.
Deshaun Wright's in there.
Well, that does
Although
it
he
for
got
our
2
free
seconds.
agency edition of Power Rankings. And I just want it to be noted, by far, the most popular
Yes.
category
Yes.
was the one I almost didn't put on there, washed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. Washington's the best.
Thank you, Raj. Appreciate it. Bleck
You're welcome,
Abdalla,
fellas.
Power Rankings on a Tuesday, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. So you guys are surprised that I put Kenneth Walker in the washed category.
Yeah, I mean,
You think that's the big time
he
hot
just
take
won
from that?
Super Bowl
Yeah,
MVP.
and he's going to get overpaid. And then what is he going to do? We know that he was
He's-
a back you have to pair with another back.
He's 25 years old.
washed.
He's not washed.
There's reports
He's doing the
that
teacups
Seattle.
at Disneyland like a week ago, and he's washed.
Yes. There's reports that Seattle will not use the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker. We'll talk about that next.
Could Kyler Murray be next year's Sam Darnold? In a new home, we're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Make sure you check out the Bleck Abdalla Show on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the show. You can watch the show live each and every day. It's Bleck Abdalla Show. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. It's Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Until 3 Eastern, I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. The news that was reported earlier today, the Seahawks are unlikely to use the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker III, MVP of the Super Bowl. Kenneth Walker is set to become a free agent, and starting today at 4 Eastern, teams can set the franchise or transition tags on players up until March 3rd. And so it is expected for the Seahawks to not tag Kenneth Walker. And that, he's a player that he had a great Super Bowl, right? He rushed for 135 yards on 27 carries, caught 2 passes in the victory over the Patriots in Super Bowl 60. The first running back to be named MVP since Terrell Davis won the award in 1997 with the Denver Broncos. So Kenneth Walker is set to be an unrestricted free agent coming up here in just a couple of hours, as it is set that the Seahawks are not expected to use the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker.
And I think that's probably wise by them, because when you are a successful organization like the Seahawks, you reload. And I think that when it comes to running backs, especially when you have a running back that is somewhat by committee, he gets a majority of the carries, but it is 60-40, 70-30, him and Charbonnet. And with Kenneth Walker, him getting majority of the carries, he's only 25, but you do have a shelf life. And when you get past that first contract and you win the Super Bowl, you win the Super Bowl MVP, he's going to demand a decent contract, a pretty high contract. And I would say that if you want to, and they do have a decent amount of money, they have the 6th most cap space in the NFL, that when you want to spend wisely, spend it on the guys that are blocking for the running backs and creating the holes for the running backs on the offensive line. Spend on defensive line. Spend on other positions that'll help your running backs, so you don't have to spend on your running backs. You draft your running backs, you use them for their contract, and then you draft another running back. It's just how the NFL is now. And that's the position. Another team will pay Kenneth Walker. Thanks for your service. We appreciate you. You got your ring. The fans will always love you. Come on back for the reunion. We appreciate your time.
I think it's the right move by the Seahawks. I wouldn't expect, if I were the Seahawks fan, to bring back Kenneth Walker. I would just hope that you draft someone to split the carries with Charbonnet coming up next season whenever he's healthy. And you kind of go about it that way. That's the way I think most good teams are kind of treating the running back room as well. There's also news this week from Seattle, because the Seahawks are expected to hire San Francisco 49er tight end coach and run game coordinator Brian Fleury as their new offensive coordinator. Fleury has never called plays for an offense, taking over the Seahawks offense with Sam Darnold. So is this something that you look at the Seahawks' success last year? Clint Kubiak takes over the Raiders job, new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and having a play caller with Sam Darnold, who's never done that before, come over from the 49ers to the Seahawks. Will that disrupt what Darnold and the Seahawks offense has put together last season to win the Super Bowl?
I think it has a higher chance of disrupting it than just promoting from within, because if you wanted to promote someone from Clint Kubiak's staff, whether it was a quarterback's coach, passing game coordinator, whatever it is, rather than Kubiak take that person with them to the Raiders, then that would have at least had some continuity. Now, this is McDonald's. I believe this is his 3rd offensive coordinator that he's going to be going through in 3 years. So this is obviously going to be Sam Darnold coming from the Vikings, or going from the 49ers to then the Vikings for a year, and then the Seahawks for a year, and then now a new offensive coordinator. This is also his 4th in 4 years. So it's going to be a change for him, and having someone who's never called plays before, that's an issue. And now we're getting into the territory, Chris, where someone has breathed the same air as a Shanahan, and now they are getting a job.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is
that's not a shot. I don't know if he's going to be good or not, right? Like,
it's kind of a shot.
Whoa, come on.
It's kind of a shot.
But wait, he could be great.
But here's the point, though. The NFC West is the division that everyone wants the coaches from. So it's either the 49ers, the Rams, or even now the Seahawks. Those are the three best teams. We talked about it at length here on the show in the playoffs throughout the regular season last year. Those were the three best teams for the most part for the entire season. We knew that was the best division in football for most of the season. So when you look at individuals going from one tree, the Shanahan tree, now to the McDonald tree, and it's all incestual in the NFC West. And what I think is a little funny is like, it reminds me of the NFC North, what we saw last year with Ben Johnson taking the Chicago Bears job, because you have a built-in rivalry there now going head-to-head against Dan Campbell each and every year. You were just the offensive coordinator if you're Ben Johnson, and now you have that situation. Not quite sure if a former coordinator from Green Bay would be suitable as a Bears head coach. Not sure if that would go over well in the city of Chicago, but I think in the NFC West, you're seeing a lot of the mixing of Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, all kind of coming together as the Seahawks round out their coaching staff as they look to defend their title.
And look, Brian Fleury might be a great offensive coordinator. He's never called plays before in the NFL. He might be great. I don't know, but it just seems like, you see Kyle Shanahan's offense is really good. Everybody wants to be a part of that, and he's been in the same room as Kyle Shanahan. So let's get some of that over here, and you get an opportunity to get a promotion. I don't think that Fleury cares if it's in the division, out of the division, in the NFC, in the AFC. Brian Fleury is going to take the job, and he gets to call plays. And if this works, he just saw that the last guy got a head coaching gig. So if it works for the next couple of years with Sam Darnold, and it's going to move up and he's going to progress his career in 2 years, 3 years, he's going to be a head coach somewhere, because like you said, the NFC West are coach makers now.
Yeah, that's the spot. Yeah. You want a little of the magic that's taken place there in the NFC West. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Hey, Abdalla, do you have any Zoo news?
Chris, I always have Zoo news.
Zoo news.
Would you like a little Zoo news?
Well, hello, Mr. Lion. Here's the latest edition of the Zoo News.
What do you have there?
Chris, the nominations are in. It is awards season after all.
Oh, is it?
We've had the Golden Globes. We've had the Emmys. With the Oscars on the horizon, it is now time to vote for USA Today's Best Zoos in the Country.
Best zoos in the country.
Best zoos in the country.
All right.
There are 20 zoos. I'm not going to name all 20. We don't have time. We have but a 3-hour show here for Bleck and Abdalla. I don't have time to go through the highlights of all 20 zoos, what they have to offer, each of the zoo attendees and fans of all these zoos and appreciators, as you and I are, of these zoos. But to highlight some of them, you've got the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans, Louisiana, the Brevard Zoo in Melbourne, Florida, the Bronx Zoo in New York.
The Bronx
Zoo. Shout out to Raj, the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
That's my zoo. That's my zoo.
Raj's
we take our dog there all the time. It's a great zoo.
They have
my home
the highlight, the chairlift style sky ride offers a stellar view over the Colorado Springs.
You guys need to come out and we'll go to the zoo. It's awesome.
I'll book my trip today.
I'm taking you up on that. How about that? They've got the African Rift Valley exhibit as a home to a herd of 16 giraffe, as well as meerkats, African lions, Cape porcupines, vultures, and colobus monkeys. How about that? Huh?
What is that?
I don't know, man. They're monkeys. The Cincinnati Zoo, the Honolulu Zoo in Hawaii, the Jacksonville Zoo. You've got the Palm Desert Zoo, the Louisville Zoo, the North Carolina Zoo, the Oklahoma City Zoo.
Yes, a lot of zoos.
A lot of zoos, Chris.
Zoos across the country.
You can go to.
Yes, they all made the list.
Yes, they did. They all made the list. Unfortunately, for us here in Chicago, broadcasting out of Chicago here, Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One, the Brookfield Zoo, the most well-known zoo here in Illinois, did not make the cut. Normally, the Brookfield Zoo makes the cut.
Are you taking this loss personally?
I am, actually. Yeah, as the Zoo News representative here in Illinois, we are a vast Zoo News organization. And as
are we?
Yeah, we are. You are not. We are. Me.
All right.
We are.
Yep.
And of course, the Smithsonian Zoo as well in Washington, D.C.
Sure.
But the Brookfield Zoo is not represented. This is a travesty. It will be investigated. I'm launching an investigation.
Okay.
But if you want to vote now, you've got 19 days left to vote.
Yeah.
10best.usatoday.com. That's where you can vote. 19 days left to vote for the 10 best zoos or 20 best zoos in the country, in America. Vote now, vote early, vote often, Chris. And that's what's new
at the
zoo.
Yes. Yes, there you go. Zoo news.
What is new at the zoo?
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Some fact checking. The Columbus monkey is you know which one that is.
Colobus monkey. Colobus.
Colobus monkey.
Colobus.
He's black and white. He's got like a ring. He's got a ring around his
I
like
know
face.
that monkey.
Like
I've seen that monkey.
It's got like, it looks like he has a white beard.
It looks like a skunk.
Yeah, yes, and the back looks like a skunk.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
If I saw that monkey around, I'd be like, that's a skunk. And then I'd be worried because that's actually a monkey.
Yeah, yes, especially here in the Midwest.
Yeah,
that would be
and
strange.
then I would be worried that there would be an escape, Chris,
Yes,
because we
yes.
know, Chris, we know
we're
that
moving on.
we talk about the zoos, but we know, Chris, that animals,
All right.
they don't like to be in the zoo, Chris. They want to be let out, Chris. They always want to be let out of the zoo. We know that.
Yep.
We do.
See, Raj knows
Raj
that
wasn't ready. Yeah.
The zoo segment is over. He's like, enough of Abdalla's nonsense. It's time to move on. You went for the call for the piece of audio, and it's over.
I did.
The segment is completed.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's what it is.
That's fine.
I was just trying to give you a factoid on the monkey.
On the colobus?
On the colobus monkey.
Colobuses?
Yeah, he looks like a skunk.
He does.
I did see this story we need to get to in the next hour. Mark Cuban is suggesting that the NBA should embrace tanking to improve the fan experience. So we'll get into that coming up. Also, it's tag day in the NFL. 4:00 Eastern. You can place the franchise tag on players, the transition tags. So this all gets started today here in the offseason for the NFL. It's coming up at 4 Eastern. So with some big names may get tagged today. Daniel Jones, Trey Hendrickson. What happens with those individuals? Malik Willis is a free agent. Will he sign somewhere when free agency opens in a couple of weeks? We got our eyes on all the coverage. It's Bleck Abdalla right here on Westwood One Sports.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, on the air until 3 o'clock Eastern time. It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. You can also listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 375 and all of our great radio affiliates across the country. It's Bleck and Abdalla live from Chicago. If you want to join the show today, you can call us at 310-840-4910. So we're on the air until 3. Jim Rome will take over at 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One Sports. At 4 Eastern today, the NFL essentially the off season where teams can tag for franchise tags and transitional tags can take place today at 4 o'clock Eastern. So that's what we're building towards here today in the sports world, and what we're looking at in the NFL is that teams can start making decisions and they can start adding the franchise tag to players around the NFL today. And some notable names that we'll keep our eyes on are certainly Daniel Jones with the Indianapolis Colts. He's expected to get tagged. Would George Pickens get tagged today by the Cowboys? Trey Hendrickson, will he be tagged by the Bengals? Are they looking to tag and then trade Trey Hendrickson? So today is one of those days where a lot of movement or individuals are being let known what their future will be for this upcoming season. And then obviously when you get franchise tagged, you get the salary of the top 5, the average of the top 5 players at your position for that season. So usually it's players who should be making a lot of money, who are on deals that maybe they want a new contract. Trey Hendrickson is that guy in that type of situation. Or you have players that you don't quite are sure how you want to approach that position, like quarterback with the Colts. Daniel Jones and a franchise tag would make a lot of sense, although it's a lot of money for Daniel Jones for one season.
Yeah, it's $47 million right around there. And if you're the Colts, it seems like it would make a lot of sense for them to franchise to negotiate, because you don't want him to hit free agency, because there are a lot of teams presumably that will have quarterback openings. If the Dolphins trade Tua, if the Cardinals trade Kyler, the Steelers don't have a quarterback right now. The Jets, they're probably going to move on from Justin Fields. They need a quarterback. So there are openings, or there will be openings eventually for some of these teams that need a quarterback. And if the Jets, who invested a lot by trading last season, the Colts traded for Sauce Gardner. They traded 2 future first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. In doing that, they invested in Daniel Jones. In doing that, they said to themselves, we are investing in Daniel Jones by saying we are not going to have a first-round pick in this draft and the next draft to draft a quarterback. And that means we have to re-sign Daniel Jones. He's not worth $47 million a year. So I would assume that means that you're going to tag him to do some form of negotiation. I don't know what that contract's going to look like, but I would think it's not going to be $47 million a year. He played very well until he got hurt, but I don't think it's going to be quite that high. Something 30, 35, maybe 40 million a year. But Daniel Jones earned a decent size raise for betting on himself and signing a 1-year deal and then coming and playing. And they had the best offense in the NFL until he was hurt.
Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. So today at 4 Eastern is when the window to use the franchise tags open. That will then go until March 3rd. And then we have the NFL Combine next week. So a part of the NFL off season, like this all happens very quickly. We have free agency. The legal tampering window in free agency starts March 9th. So from the 9th to the 11th of March, that's when you have the legal tampering window open in the NFL. And then March 11th, that's when teams can announce that they've signed the players. So the way it works, right, on the 9th, you'll start to see the reports of individuals that are agreeing to sign with teams. That's when all of the reporters are sending out the social media updates that players are moving teams. They're signing here. This is what they're doing. But the 11th is the true date where teams then can confirm and to announce the players. And then we know that the NFL draft in Pittsburgh this year, April 23rd to the 25th. So the NFL offseason calendar, it's here. And today is the first step in all of that with the franchise tags that could be applied today at 4 Eastern. I saw this story earlier today on The Athletic. It's from Zach Johnson. The headline is, Malik Willis will be the top quarterback in free agency. Will the Browns target him? And the column goes through all of the different options the Cleveland Browns have this offseason to fix their quarterback position. It also lists that there is a chance that Cleveland may stand pat per the article, and maybe they don't do anything. And they go with Shedeur Sanders, they go with Dylan Gabriel, and then whatever they have with Deshaun Watson, and they try and figure out the quarterback position for this upcoming season with those three players. But then what Jackson points out in The Athletic, that if the Browns choose to try a free agency route, the best name that would be on the list would be Malik Willis, a player who's made 6 career starts, who's thrown 155 career passes, and that Willis is only 27. He'll turn 27 in May, and that he is set with the 3 starts they played in Green Bay this past season in for Jordan Love. There's real potential out of the free agency bidding of landing Malik Willis, and that he would be a player that perhaps could change the fortune at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, a team that has been desperate to find a quarterback for years. You know, and we know as sports fans, what's the tweet? What's the social media graphic? It's the guy with the Browns jersey with all of the names on the back of the jersey where it looks like it's a CBS receipt.
Yeah.
Right. When you go to CBS and they print off that extra long receipt that you don't need and you crumple it up and you throw it away right away, that looks like it's attached to the guy's Cleveland Browns jersey with names of quarterbacks from the past that have not worked out. And so they are a team that would possibly be interested in a free agent signing of Malik Willis. What do you think of this story in The Athletic earlier today by Zach Jackson?
It makes absolutely no sense to me. 0 sense to me, because you already have 3 quarterbacks. And the saying is, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. And right now they have presumably 2 starting quarterbacks on their roster because Dylan Gabriel was just okay. They put in Shedeur Sanders and he started the rest of the season. But you also have Deshaun Watson, who was injured and is starting his rehab. And when he comes back, has a cap hit of over $100 million this year. So you can't do anything with that. The cap is somewhat a myth. But when your dead cap hit is over $100 million, that is not a myth. That is a reality that the Browns cannot deal with this year. You just have to have Deshaun Watson on your roster this year. And if he's there, you at least have to play him and see what he has left in the tank. If he comes out and he plays well, great. If he doesn't, you have Shedeur Sanders there. He played for you, whether it was well or not. He at least played. You drafted 2 quarterbacks last year. You drafted Dylan Gabriel before you drafted Shedeur Sanders. So you spent 2 draft picks already last year on quarterbacks. So now you're going to bring in a 4th quarterback who, if you're spending the kind of money as the only quarterback on the market that Malik Willis is, you're going to automatically slot him ahead of Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel and at least have a competition between him and Deshaun Watson. And if he wins, you're going to have your backup quarterback with a $120 million cap hit just sitting on the bench. I guess that's fine. If you want to win games, you want to win games. Money doesn't matter. I get that. You've got a championship caliber defense because you have Myles Garrett. You've got great defensive players on there. You've drafted really well on defense. That defense is ready to go. Your offense is not. I don't think this makes any sense for the Browns this year. This is a 2027 move for the Browns. If you want to move on from Deshaun Watson next offseason and still have Shedeur Sanders on your roster and Dylan Gabriel, and you bring in Malik Willis to compete with those guys, knowing full well that he's going to win that job, and you're going to have Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders as your backup, that's a better option.
Okay, but to interrupt you, it's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. We're talking about the possibility of the Browns going after Malik Willis in free agency. Yeah, you mentioned that this is not a move for right now. It's a move for 2027. They don't have that time. Malik Willis will sign somewhere this offseason. If it's not with the Browns, maybe it's the Cardinals. Maybe it's the Dolphins. There's a direct connect. The GM of the Dolphins is someone that came from the front office of the Green Bay Packers. Mm-hmm. So seeing Malik Willis travel down the South Beach to be Dolphins quarterback, I could see. I would also argue, I don't know if that's much of an upgrade over Tua Tagovailoa. Like, I understand why the Dolphins want to move on from Tua, and I think it would be good for Tua to have a fresh start somewhere else. But I think when you're comparing Malik Willis and his play, like, what are we really doing here?
Yeah.
You know, like, I get it. In this year's class of free agency, he's the best option. Okay. I mean, he's not going to be a top 20 quarterback. I think you're stretching by thinking he'll be a top 25 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
This is not Sam Darnold. This is not Darnold who's bouncing around the league, who was a top 5 pick, who you say, okay, I remember what he did. Because, like, even coming into the NFL at Liberty, Malik Willis was questioned in college if being good enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it wasn't as much. It's not. I think people are really stretching, hoping that Malik Willis will be something, and they're shining it up, hoping that he will, because he's the only quarterback that's going to be available through free agency. So I think for Cleveland, yes, with their collection of items that they have at quarterback, I stopped myself. I didn't say garbage. You thought I was going to say garbage. Items.
It was the tone. It was the tone.
Well, I don't think any of them are really good.
Your garbage tone.
I don't think Shadur. I don't think Gabriel. I don't think Watson. I don't think any of them are very good.
Yeah, but
so for the Browns, Malik Willis may be an upgrade.
Yeah.
He might be. But outside of that, if you're Arizona or if you're Miami, you can do better.
Well, of course you can. That's why, to me, he's a Jet. Like, this screams Jets.
I mean, the Jets, if the Jets were smart, they would do what we were suggesting yesterday, and we were talking about yesterday with the article that we saw on ESPN.com suggesting that they trade for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, you could.
That would make a lot of sense for the Jets.
Absolutely, because all of it, if it's only going to cost you a 4th-round pick because of his contract, and you have to take on that kind of money, and you think that you've got the support staff to not necessarily revamp his career, because he's decent, he's good, but just he needs a change of scenery, and you've got a good defense. You've got a defense that's already set up. The Cardinals didn't have a defense. So if you can prop him up with a good defense, if you think you've got a good offensive line that you can help him out there, then absolutely. I think that he can play really well. But if you can't facilitate that trade because the Cardinals are asking for too much, or you don't want to give up the draft capital, all you have to do is give Malik Willis money. That's the only thing it's going to cost you. It's not going to cost you draft capital. And if you also are in the mindset of, well, we have the 2nd overall pick this year. We don't really want to be that good this year, though. We want to be in a quarterback class for next year. And maybe that's what the Browns are thinking too. The Browns are thinking, we've got this good defense. We're set up to have a good defense for the next few years. Maybe we don't want to be that good. Maybe we're in a mindset of these teams that are saying we're still setting ourselves up for the 2027 draft, where the quarterback class is going to be the march for Arch, and everybody's trying to set themselves up for Arch Manning and trying to get this desirable quarterback where there's only one in this draft in Fernando Mendoza, and then the bottom falls out on quarterbacks, and we're talking about day 3 and day 4 picks for quarterbacks.
So we're talking about Malik Willis. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Is there a team we're missing? This is Ryan Clark on Inside the NFL suggesting that the Steelers should go after Malik Willis.
I want the Pittsburgh Steelers to move on from Aaron Rodgers and acquire Malik Willis. He's shown us now in Green Bay under Matt LaFleur, his passing has now ascended, right? He's pushing the football down the field outside of the numbers. The athleticism since coming out of Liberty has always been there. Under Matt LaFleur and the way that he was utilized, he thrived as the starting quarterback. You don't have to go pay Malik Willis $60 million. Now, will it be a deal that's maybe over what Sam Darnold made? Maybe. But I feel like that's where you can start working with Malik Willis. And now under Mike McCarthy, you're not just piecemealing, right, or putting a Band-Aid on the quarterback position. You're getting possibly your quarterback of the next decade.
So that's Ryan Clark on Inside the NFL suggesting that the Steelers don't wait around for Aaron Rodgers. Go get Malik Willis. Fix your quarterback position for the future because I don't think it's a debate. I don't think anyone will argue Malik Willis is better than Aaron Rodgers for one season. Rodgers is the better player. He should go back to the Steelers for one more season.
Mm-hmm.
But long term, Malik Willis would make more sense because he's a younger player. He's going to be 27 next season.
Yeah.
Aaron's probably only going to play one more year if he plays.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if he would get out of his ayahuasca hole and allow the Steelers to move on with their offseason.
Has he seen a shadow yet?
I don't know. He pops up every offseason. He's in the ayahuasca cave. He comes out, and if he sees his shadow, he goes back into the cave for 6 more weeks of drugs and hallucinates. and then if not, he becomes quarterback for a team.
Yeah.
And so if he could tell the Steelers now, if he's planning on playing this year, then they can assess and go in the right direction. I think the Steelers want Rodgers. But if he tells them he's not playing, and that this takes place after free agency takes place, the Steelers are going to be high and dry.
Well, there's 2 reasons I like Malik Willis to the Steelers, and it has to do with Aaron Rodgers and it has to do with Mike McCarthy, because it eliminates the Aaron Rodgers problem. Like you said, you can wash your hands of the Aaron Rodgers issue. You don't have to do this dance next year. What are we going to do at quarterback? You don't have to rush a development of whoever you draft this year in the later rounds, because the Steelers need to draft someone. And you can do that this year if you're Mike McCarthy. And so if you sign Malik Willis, that's a 2 to 3 year solution. If you sign Malik Willis this year and you draft a quarterback in the 3rd round or 2nd round, if you want to, that's, let's say it's Ty Simpson or if it's Carson Beck, whoever it is, Mike McCarthy has developed 2 quarterbacks that we know into very good, Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott, into good quarterbacks, into great quarterbacks. And so I'm not saying that Carson Beck or Ty Simpson are going to turn into those guys, but it at least gives Mike McCarthy 2 years of those guys to sit and watch and learn from Mike McCarthy. They can learn whatever they can from Malik Willis and turn into something and give them time to sit, watch, develop, as opposed to Aaron Rodgers, who we know is not going to teach anybody anything. And we know is going to leave after a year, or you're at least going to have to sit through this dance again another year. And it's going to, I don't know if I want to play. I got to see what the earth tells me. I got to see what the trees tells me. I got to see what the ayahuasca tells me. If it's purple, then I want to play, then I'm not going to play. If it's yellow and if it's gold and black, then I'm going to play.
I'm 40. At this age, I don't like being hungover, right? So like being sick and drinking to the point where I don't feel well is something I despise at this age. When I was younger, in my 20s, it was something I thrived, right? Like a good hangover, you could get to work, like, okay, fine, you get through it, right?
Yeah.
It was no problem. At this point in my life, I hate it. To participate in something where like the objective of taking ayahuasca is to feel at your physical worst. Isn't that what it happens?
That's the result.
Yes, it comes out both ends.
That's not the objective.
Okay, you free your mind.
That's the objective
I'm seeing things
of a cleanse, of a juice cleanse.
I'm just telling you, all the documentaries I've ever seen about ayahuasca is like that does not look like a fun time.
We can both admit I've done more experimenting than you have when it comes to this world.
Well, yeah, you've done hard drugs.
Well, hard is a tough word, bro. Like, let's not say like mushrooms are not hard drugs, okay?
I've taken like 3 edibles in my life.
Yeah, like come on, man. Like my parents listen to this sometimes.
Oh, they're not listening.
We're on around the country now.
They don't
like,
care.
This is not cool.
They don't care.
Hard drugs. What is wrong with you? Hard drugs.
Yeah, that did sound like a narc.
Yeah, man.
That was a little narky.
You are a hole monitor, but come on.
That did
hard
sound
drugs.
Well, you've done mushrooms. You've done things like that.
Yeah.
Would that be considered hard drugs?
I have never in
Tripping
my life
on shrooms?
ever had the desire to ever try that. Ayahuasca. Expand my mind. Thank you.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. One person who doesn't do drugs, the other has done hard drugs.
No, don't put that into a promo.
That's going to be the promo.
No,
Raj
that's not a promo.
He's
That's
going to
not a
cut that promo.
I do not sign off on that.
Which NFL team has the most cap space this offseason? We'll talk about that next.
Will the Seahawks franchise tag Kenneth Walker, or could the Super Bowl MVP be on his way to a new team? We'll break down the options as they come to light on Westwood One Sports.
season. Here's the list. At the top of the table, Tennessee, nearly $105 million of cap space. The Raiders are second with 91 mil. The Chargers are third with 83. The Jets at 4 with 80. And the Commanders are fifth with almost $75 million in cap space heading into this offseason. So, Abdal, we've discussed this here in the offseason while talking about the head coaching jobs. I think you've laid out that a part of the reason why you thought Tennessee had such a great opportunity to land a good head coach, and that the fact that Robert Saleh took the job, is the fact that the Titans have a chance now to flip their roster. They have the most cap space in all of football, and they already have a quarterback with Cam Ward as the guy for the future. So now, will the Titans go out in this offseason and spend this money and use it to get to a point that we saw? The New England Patriots did this last year. They were a team at the bottom of the standings, last place in their division. They had a young quarterback in Drake May, and they had a lot of cap space, and they spent a lot of cap space. Last year, in the free agency conversations following free agency in the NFL, the Patriots won the offseason.
Yeah.
They were one of the teams that won the offseason. Usually in the NFL, that doesn't equal to wins right away. It did for the Patriots this past season. Can the Titans duplicate what New England did last year?
I think they can if they spend it wisely. Like, that's the key. Like, coaching staffs can come in and only do so much. It helps that they have a quarterback, and it also helps. I wanted to see who Robert Saleh was going to bring in as offensive coordinator. And when he brought in Brian Daboll, that was huge because as a head coach, disaster. Like, when he was Giants head coach, it was bad. But as an offensive coordinator, he did a great job. So I think him coming in and working with Cam Ward is going to be huge. Now, with all of that money, you've got your draft picks. You can flip this roster. And in a division where we have a situation where the Colts and Daniel Jones, can they replicate what they did last year? That remains to be seen. It seems like they got off to a really hot start, and then the injury kind of turned everything around for them. Can they replicate that? You've got the Texans. CJ Stroud continues to regress. That defense is insane. But if you don't have a quarterback, if you have the quarterback that continues to regress the way that CJ Stroud does, what does that leave you with? We saw how that worked out for them. And you've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are on an upward trajectory as well. To me, this division is wide open. You've got all these teams. If the Titans can spend well and flip their roster with two former head coaches coming in and taking over this team, it's going to be Robert Saleh's defense. It's going to be Brian Daboll's offense. I think this division is wide open. I think the Tennessee Titans are a team. They're not going to go to the Super Bowl. This isn't going to be the Patriots where they're going to end up. They're not. It's the AFC.
Do you believe in Cam Ward?
I believe in Cam Ward, but
could Cam Ward give you a season that Drake May gave you last year?
The problem is
the answer is no.
The answer is no.
I will answer that question.
The answer is no.
The answer is no.
We also talked about how the Patriots were in the Super Bowl because of the Bills being out. Bo Nix breaking his ankle, the Chiefs being out.
It was a charmed run.
The easy schedule. So I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but the Titans could go worst to first in this division. I don't see why they can't. I don't see why they can't compete. I don't see why if we're week 15 and we're saying the Titans are fighting for a spot in this at the top of the division, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I think I like Jacksonville more than you do. And that's where I think Trevor Lawrence is now coming into his own. So I get your point. Why can't they? I could also see the argument to be made with Houston that maybe they take a step back, even though that defense is so good and they're ready to win a championship now. CJ Stroud is going to hold them back. I get it. I think what plays into your opinion on this is that of all of the divisions in football, it's like the weakest of the top dogs.
Exactly.
Right? And where when you look around the other teams, like primarily, do we expect the Patriots to be the first place team in the AFC East again next season? Probably not. No. It's going to be Buffalo. Everyone's going to pick Buffalo. It's what's going to happen. We're going to get to the end of August and we're having NFL preview shows and people are going to be picking the Buffalo Bills.
August, we're doing it right now.
And I think also when you look at other divisions around football, the South in the AFC is probably the weakest in the conference, which plays into your argument.
Yeah.
I would say, based on Adam's opinion on the Titans going into the season, I had that same opinion about the Vegas Raiders as far as new quarterback, you have a new head coach, and they have the second most cap space. So the Raiders have a chance, and I'm not going to pitch or try and sell you like a used car salesman that the Raiders are going to win the division.
But that division
happening.
that division is so much tougher.
Well, that's
though.
why I'm saying I'm not going to give you the sales job on,
Yeah.
on the Raiders. Like, I think the Raiders will
Patrick
be improved.
Mahomes is washed, and the Chargers don't have an offensive line. And
And Herbert's going to get his head knocked
Bo
off.
Nix
and-
doesn't drink his milk. He's got bird bones.
I'm not going to do that. I think the Raiders will be improved, but they're probably still going to be either third or fourth in the division. When we have this conversation of the most cap space, the Chargers are sitting right there with the third most amount of cap space heading into free agency. And I think that right there, if you want to put a pin in teams that we expect to take a jump because of free agency, it's got to be the Chargers with the third most amount of space. And it's got to be the Commanders with the fifth most amount of space. And there is no jump to make when you're at the top. But the fact that the Seahawks are sixth in available cap space heading into the offseason, I think that signals to the conversation that we've had immediately following the Super Bowl that Seattle might be around as the top dog in the conference for quite some time in the NFC. With that much cap space and with Darnold figuring it out and having your head coach in place, I think Seattle is setting up now for a nice prolonged run, because the last team in that division to win the Super Bowl, the Rams, the way they had to do it was they had no cap space. They were in cap hell. So after they won the Super Bowl, they had to tear off all these pieces and veteran players and build it back up with young guys. Seattle doesn't necessarily have to do that.
No, and what's good for them is the way that Sam Darnold didn't perform in the Super Bowl, because the talk going into the Super Bowl was that if Sam Darnold played the way he did against the Rams, Sam Darnold contract would be ripped up and that he would be looking at an extension, and that would eat a decent amount of that cap space.
Exactly.
And because he didn't play like he did in the NFC Championship game, where he basically lit the Rams up and had the game of his life, you can still say that this is a team that is propped up by their amazing defense, their run game, because Kenneth Walker won the MVP of the Super Bowl. And, if I were the Seahawks, I wouldn't be giving Kenneth Walker a gigantic contract. If he wants to take a team discount to stay and try to repeat, by all means, take a team discount and stick around and split carries with Charbonnet, and we can try to repeat. Do what you want to do. But this team has a chance to reload and compete in the NFC West, which is insanely stacked. It's going to be one of the best divisions in football. Again, assuming the 49ers stay healthy, the Rams, everybody comes back. Stafford said he's already coming back. So they're going to be stacked again. And you're going to see that these three teams probably all make the playoffs again, and wouldn't be surprised if two of them end up meeting up in the NFC Championship game again, because these three teams are just so good. And kudos to the Seahawks for setting up their roster this way, that now they can extend guys if they want to. They can rework contracts if they want to. They can add pieces. They can do whatever they want to, because they've got this much cap space just sitting there.
Teams that need to maneuver the other end of the conversation, they need to maneuver to create some space to kind of get their situation corrected. Kansas City, 54 mil over the cap. The Vikings, 40 mil over. The Cowboys, 30. Doesn't it feel like the Cowboys are always in some kind of cap hell?
They figure it out.
Jacksonville, 13 mil over, and Buffalo, 12 mil over. So those are the five teams in the worst cap situation heading into the offseason. And like we were talking about, Tennessee and Las Vegas are the two teams with the most available cap space. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Quickly, I wanted to ask you about this. I saw this from Sunday. Did you know and realize that The Simpsons aired their 800th episode on Sunday? Season 37 of The Simpsons. My question to you, Adam Abdalla, kid from the 90s. You grew up in the 90s. You love The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
Who is still watching The Simpsons? Is anyone still watching weekly these episodes that are being put out?
Does Lisa still need braces?
That is an old reference. that a lot of us who are elder millennials get.
But anyone that is
dental plan
between the
Lisa
ages
needs
of
braces.
like 38 and 46 probably immediately just says dental plan.
Dental plan.
Exactly. And I think that I don't remember the last time I sat down and watched a new episode of The Simpsons. I don't know if the show is still relevant in society today, because they used to be like, I know how they're still relevant. They're relevant because whenever something happens in pop culture, in politics, in whatever, there's always the Simpsons predicted this 10 years ago, or Simpsons predicted this 12 years ago.
They predict the future.
And there's always this, well, The Simpsons, there's an episode where they did this and now it's happened. And whatever magic they did back 15 whatever years ago, Matt Groening has been able to predict, our creator of The Simpsons has been able to predict our future for the last 20 years. So that's the only reason I see The Simpsons that's relevant on Twitter, on Instagram, or whatever. That's the only way I see it. And the only reason I knew that it was their 800th episode is because I saw the beginning of the Daytona 500 where it was Bart Simpson doing the checkered flag.
How does that happen?
It was a mascot. It was like
there was actually a person in a mascot?
It was like a person in a mascot costume
okay.
up atop of the stanchion.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like the cartoon.
No, I don't know if there was a cartoon doing the Gentlemen Start Your Engines. But there was a person in a mascot above the track doing the checkered flag.
I believe if you want to ask about relevance, the episode was about The Pit. It was like a spoof off of The Pit. Have you watched that show on HBO?
I have not started the second season. I watched the first season. It was very good.
Okay. So apparently that's what it was referencing to in the episode, the 800th episode of The Simpsons.
I really like the first season a lot.
To answer your question, I haven't sat down and watched a Simpsons episode in probably 15 years.
Like what else?
Probably.
What else is there unless you're making fun of new shows like The Pit or other, like what else? What are you doing?
Anything.
What are you still writing about?
They can write about anything. It's a cartoon.
No, I get that.
That's the brilliance of it.
But like, is he still in Mrs. Krabappel's class?
Rosh, you have a question for us?
Bleck, do you not watch The Simpsons anymore because of The Simpsons? The show itself is not relevant to you, or is it changing viewing habits that you're not like sitting down to watch a broadcast TV show on a Sunday night? Is it more like the world has advanced, or is it the show?
I think I have changed. Like I don't really watch a lot of cartoons anymore, even though they're adult cartoons. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think it's because it's not funny anymore. Because there are still shows that I
watch. I don't watch Family Guy.
No, but if a show is still there's a show that's been on for like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a show that's been on forever.
Yeah, but that's not a cartoon.
I know, but that show has been on since shows were still on in standard definition, and it's still funny.
I didn't watch Archer when it was on.
I loved Archer.
Yeah, but like I don't. It's something about like my personal viewing habits is like I'm not sitting down and looking for. What do they call it? Animation domination.
Chris doesn't respect voice acting as a profession, is what it is.
That's not the case.
No, it is.
I loved it. It's just not something.
Raj, it's
just not something I seek out.
I could see Abdalla being like a phenomenal voice actor.
Yeah, Abdalla was on an episode of Bob's Burgers.
I have not done any voice acting. Another show that I love. I love Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers is a great show. Both voiced by H. John Benjamin, Archer and Bob's Burgers. No wonder you don't like it.
What? I didn't say I didn't like it.
No, I get it. You don't like H. John Benjamin.
No,
I get
he's funny.
No, you don't like H.
He's
John
really
Benjamin.
funny.
Just admit it.
What's the one with the show? I'm pulling the name. What's the name with the kid and his grandfather?
The kid and his grandfather.
Yeah.
What are you talking about
now? Cartoon. On Cartoon Network.
The cartoon with the kid and his grandfather.
Yeah, it's the show.
I don't know what
time travel and
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. That's the last cartoon that I watched. Rick and Morty.
It's still on.
No, I know, and I haven't watched in a couple years.
Okay, that's on you.
Mark Cuban has an idea for Adam Silver and the NBA on how they can fix tanking. We talk about that next.
Westwood One, baby.
Will Tua Tagovailoa jumpstart his career in a new city like Baker Mayfield did? We're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL.
Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Noon to 3 Eastern each and every day right here on Westwood One Sports. Jim Rome is coming up at 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One. Thank you to Raj and Laura for producing today's show. Make sure you check out the podcast of Bleck Abdalla on Apple, Spotify, and Odyssey. And you can always like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bleck and Abdalla Show. New videos posted daily on Bleck and Abdalla Show on our YouTube channel. And that's also where you can watch the show live each and every day. Bleck and Abdalla Show on YouTube. Mark Cuban has chimed in on the NBA conversation. A lot of the talk over the last week with the All-Star game was the fact that the league is in peril. No one likes this product that the NBA is offering people. And the biggest issue that Adam Silver had to answer to over the weekend for All-Star weekend was tanking and the issue of tanking in the NBA. Mark Cuban used to be the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, no longer is, but I think he's pretty smart on NBA topics. And when he has an opinion on things, I think he's onto it. Here's his solution on how the NBA should fix and improve the tanking experience. They should embrace it. He thinks that, and what he lays out on social media today, is that the fan experience isn't necessarily about remembering the wins or the losses. It's about the enjoyment that people have at the events that bring them back. And that if teams who are trying to tank, if the league embraces that a part of the way you can fix your franchise for the future is by losing games and embracing that leaning into that idea would actually benefit the league instead of trying to penalize and trying to act like tanking is not something that is taking place in the NBA.
Yeah, this is part of his tweet. We didn't tank often, only a few times over 23 years, but when we did, our fans appreciated it, and it got us where we could improve, trade up to get Luka and improve our team. The NBA should worry more about fan experience than tanking. It should worry more about pricing fans out of games than tanking. You know who cares the least about tanking? A parent who can't afford to bring their 3 kids to a game and buy their kids a jersey of their favorite player. Tanking isn't the issue. Affordability and quality of game presentation are. And I completely agree with Mark Cuban because, as I've told you, tanking isn't the issue in the NBA. The issue is, as Mark Cuban said, when that family spends their hard-earned money and they might only get to go to 1 game a year, 2 games a year, and they show up and they find out when they get there that LeBron isn't playing or Luka isn't playing or whoever that they decide to go and pay their hard-earned money to see, like let's say they had to move and that family only gets to see that team that gets to come to that one town, that one city once a year, and they're from out of state, and that team only gets to go there once a year, and they find out that day when they get there and they've spent their hard-earned money to go see that one team once a year that they're not playing. And that's unfortunate. And that's the problem with the NBA is load management is the problem. The fact that these guys are they just don't play in back-to-backs and that you've shortened the season so much to try to fit in these tournaments and try to fit in more play-in games. That's the problem with the NBA. Tanking is not the issue in the NBA. That's not it.
I think we've seen a movement in sports from a few owners who kind of get that. You know, we've seen a couple of situations, whether that be in Phoenix with Matt Ishbia and offering up some concessions that are under $5.
Mm-hmm.
I know for years that's been a theme with Arthur Blank and the Atlanta Falcons and their new stadium in Atlanta is that they offer up concessions that are reasonable. And I think that all goes into play in this conversation is that the game is not affordable for most families. And then you pile on the conversation about what Adam just said, where half of your stars don't really play every night. And if they have a little boo-boo or they're a little tired because they're flying in airplanes first class all over the country, they need their load management and rest. Like, what does that say to a consumer, a father, a wife who have 2-3 kids and they want to go to a game? You're spending probably between 4 people at least $600-$700
Oh yeah,
to go to one NBA game, and you get to that game and Luka Doncic is resting for that game. Like, that sucks. And it's a trickle down effect where the product is harmed by it. And Cuban's right that if the product was better and the concessions were more affordable and it was fun to be there. And the team, you knew that it was just a one-time losing season, but hey, they've got this entertainment at halftime and they got this. And oh, by the way, the popcorn is $1.
Yeah.
And like, then, you have a daughter, like, is she, if you took her to a game, she doesn't care on whether or not an all-star is playing or not.
Dude.
She would be thrilled with $1 popcorn that you were able to purchase her,
All
right?
she cares if Benny the Bull comes by our section. That's
yeah,
all
right,
she would
right.
care
The mascots.
about.
The kids care about the mascots.
That's all she cares about. Like, and the fact that parents are priced out of these games, and like, yeah, like I care if my favorite player is playing, but and as she gets older, she'll care if her favorite players are playing, and that's the problem. Like, the message to NBA fans now is don't buy tickets to back-to-backs because they're not going to play.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
What's the point?
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. We'll hand it off to Jim Rome in just a couple minutes here on Westwood One Sports. But before we go today, let's get one more official Olympic update from the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, the 35th Winter Olympiad in Milan. And Abdalla, we have an official statement. This is real. On the condom situation in the Olympic Village.
Hey, now.
We have an official statement from the IOC. They have released per a spokesperson. If you have not been following over the weekend, there was a shortage of condoms in the Olympic Village for the athletes.
Yeah.
And now we have an official statement from a spokesperson who is there on the ground trying to fix this shortage. And this is the official statement. The shortage was not a result of planning failures, but demand far exceeding projections. So the Olympic Committee wants you to know it was not their poor planning to why the shortage of condoms took place in the Olympic Village. It was because the athletes want to use too many condoms.
It shows that Valentine's Day is in full swing in the Village, and I don't think I can add very much more to that. IOC spokesperson Mark Adams told reporters on Saturday. Guys, you're there to compete.
I guess.
For your country.
I think they're competing at something else.
Like, what are we doing?
You know what they say, when the Olympic Village is rocking, don't come knocking.
Yeah. There's 2,800 athletes and about 10,000 condoms have been used. So you do the math. It's about 3.5. I can't really use half a condom.
I mean, I'm picturing like a freshman in college. You show up on campus, and they always say, "Hey, be safe." And here's that, and then like you see the little freshman run over and like grab a handful and throws them in his pockets. So like, buddy, you're not using those. like who's going through this many? Like, it's insane.
The skeleton.
The Olympians.
Yeah, the skeleton people.
The pairs?
Very close to, yeah. Well, it's very close sport.
No, they're competing.
Hockey players.
Mm-hmm. I mean, ladies like the hockey players.
They do.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
It's that new show that's out. Everyone's getting all hot and bothered for. Jim Rome is coming up next right here on Westwood One Sports.
This is Westwood One Sports.